Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video I'll show you a fun way to test out some Warhammer armies without having to buy any models. If you've ever put together a Warhammer 40K army, or you're looking at starting a new one, you'll know it can be quite expensive, and as a new player like me, it can be difficult to know exactly where to start and what units to buy. Everything looks so cool, and if you are like me, then you're going to want it all, but that's not always an option, and so buying the right models to build an army with is pretty important, and especially when you're not sure which units you like to play with, and if you're working within a budget. I think it could be really easy to just buy a load of models that you probably wouldn't even bring to the table, and you would just have too many, maybe some wouldn't work well with others and things like that. So rather than wasting a ton of money, I've come up with a fun way to test out some armies using different combinations of models before actually buying those models. So I wanted to share that with you here in this video. Since collecting the Imperium magazine, I've decided to go all in and collect a Space Marine army, and I've bought the Space Marine books and the cards and picked those up to try out some different army lists and see how they look and play. But I don't want to buy what I don't need, so that's what we're going to go through in this video. Now I'll also be doing another video once I get a good look at these books and cards and just talking about what you actually need to start playing, because I think there's a lot of things out there that you don't necessarily have to get, and I think those cards are one of them. You can't beat playing on the tabletop with cool terrain and painted models, but for practice and testing, I thought I'd make some vector-style tokens. I thought these would work out really well. So I've created some of those for all the models that I've got already and some of the ones that I'm interested in buying. I'm also going to use these in some upcoming videos that I'm going to do on Warhammer 40,000 Tactics as well, so I'm really looking forward to that. But for the rest of the video, let's talk about how these tokens might help you and your hobby, and then have a look at them in action. And I'll also run through how I made them, but you can get them in high-res PNGs by joining my Patreon page. So as you'll see later, I've designed this so you can test out armies on a computer, but also on an iPad. Phone might be a little bit too small, but you might be able to do it. This is going to be a great way to practice some tactics without having to be at the tabletop, so you won't have to get anything out. You don't even have to have them with you. You can also look at deployment strategies, copy some games you've seen, and maybe see how they'll work for your army. And being able to simulate battles on your computer means you can do it really fast. You're not going to be held back by having to move anything around. So you can get through many battles quickly. And I think this is a little bit like chess practice, like doing different drills. You can just look at previous games and try out tactics you've seen other people using and then bring that into your own army. So being able to do it on the computer means you can quickly set up a scenario and then find different ways to work your way through that scenario. So I think this is going to be really fun to do that. It's also going to be a great way to practice and learn the rules as well, and you can try out different combinations of units without having to actually have those units. And this is all going to help prepare for competitive play, and then for me, I think this is really important to build confidence, and going into a match where you've practiced a lot is really going to help with that confidence. Let's head over to Keynote and I'll show you how I did it and how it works, but you can also do this in PowerPoint as well. So let's go there now. Right, so here we are in Keynote, and I've just opened up a new Keynote and I've made the size 1980 by 1080, and that's just going to give the right size slide for this video, but this all works really nicely in that ratio. And so what I've done is I just took a picture online of one of the boards, and then this is already going to be the right dimensions for the game. So depending on how many points you play will depend on how many boards you need for the game. So if you just play like a combat mission, then you've got one here, and so one board, you can make two boards, or you can do four. So you can change the size within your Keynote, and then you've got all that area to work with. Now what I've did then is I'm just going to use one board. So what I did after that was I made a table, and then with that table I put the grid into a 22 by 30 square grid, and the size of those squares is 48 points. So that's going to give you the right size for just one board. Now if you do four boards, just rescale those squares so that it fits across them, and each one of these is going to represent 1 inch by doing it with this 48 point size for one board. So then you can move the miniatures around knowing you've pretty much moved them 1 inch. If you go diagonally, it's going to be a little bit out, but this isn't going to be exact to the millimeter, but it's really going to give you plenty of opportunity to practice. So that grid line is a 2-point grid outline for that whole table. So when you highlight your table, you can just go into the cell, and then you can highlight this little area here in the border section, and then just make that 2 points. And that's going to give you the right size. And I've just done it in like a light grey so I can see over it. So there we go. We've got our board ready, and now it's time to look at the units. So you could simply get images online, get rid of the background, and you do that by selecting the image, go to Instant Alpha, which is in the Image tab, and then you'll just get rid of that background. So that's nice and easy. And then you can move this around, so that'll work just great. But for me, I want something that's more of a top down, so I can really get an idea of the whole battlefield. So what I've done is I've created some vector style tokens, and here's one of them here. And so I'll import that in as a PNG. I created them in a Keynote file, exported each one as a PNG, and then I can bring it back in to whatever like software I'm using or whatever. And then I make that a little bit smaller, and this is going to represent those 32mm bases. So as you see, as I move this, it's a little bit bigger than that 1 inch square. So 25mm or so for a 1 inch square. This is a little bit bigger, and so you can move this around, and then that's going to work out really nicely. So what I've done is I've made these tokens for all the different units that I'm interested in, the ones I've got as well. So you can see we've got our tanks here, we've got a librarian, the chaplain, the apothecary, we've got all the different captain, lieutenants and sergeants here, and our different units, and then we've got all the different vehicles as well. And then up here I've just put them on bases, so you've got that option, and also some shapes here as well. So this is available to all my Patreons, so it's up on there already, and you can download the PNGs, and if you want a keynote, just send me an email. But I'll show you how I did it in here, so if you didn't want to join Patreon or whatever, then you can just make your own really easily. So here we go, back to this one guy. We've got him in the middle, but I want to import quite a few in now. So here I've just brought in an idea of some of the models I'd like to put in an army. So I've got a gladiator tank, 3 bikes, I've got 2 5-man squads of assault intercessors, we've got the captain, lieutenant and a librarian. So I'm good to go. All these can be moved in and out however I like. So that's the first step. Then we want an enemy. So you can make these in any colours if you wanted to. I've just changed this one to purple. It would be great to make one for every faction. That would just be awesome. I think that would be really fun too. But if you don't want to go to that effort, I think you could simply just use shapes like these. So you could have like circles, and then you could even write in here with some text exactly what each unit is going to be. For like, say, for an enemy tank, you could just pull that in, reshape it, you can angle it however you like, and then that could be a vehicle which could go up against yours, you know. So things like that. You don't have to go into this level of detail. You don't even have to do it for your own army. You could just use shapes, but I think these look really cool, and it's fun as well. Right, so we've got our army ready, we've got our opposition who we're going up against, and then we've got a 40mm token to use as an objective marker, so we can pop that there. And then I made a circle, and I just changed the transparency just to show that we can be within 3 inches of that objective marker to hold it. So there we go. So you can move your miniatures in, and that's going to be great for playing around with that too. So now we need some terrain. We've got our objective markers and all our miniatures ready, and so I've just built some shapes out of the terrain, and we can just pop this around however we like. Maybe we've got some scatter terrain there, and then you want something obscuring, maybe we'll pop in a few of these cargo crates as well. So you can just come up with anything you like for this, any shapes, and then just move it around however you like. And if you wanted, you could lock that in place as well, and then that's not going to move. And then you can start, when you bring your different units in, you can then start getting them in place within the terrain and things like that. So there we go. So that's pretty much everything we need to get started with a battle. So the next step would just be to bring in everything you want, go through different deployments. How do you want to set up and put all your miniatures in place? and then you could just get started almost going through the motions of a game, going through the turns. You could even have your dice next to you at the computer, rolling the dice and then moving your miniatures forward. You could use the grid system. It's just a rough guide for how many inches to move and how far you can shoot and things like that. And you could even come up with a ruler on here actually that you could move around. But I think just to practice, you could just use this grid system. Diagonally, it's going to be like a little bit of a different thing, but you can just like kind of play around with that. It doesn't have to be super precise, I don't think, at this stage. So that's it really. This is everything you need to go through and practice all the things we discussed earlier. But let me just show you quickly how I built these vector tokens. So here's two. We've got the gladiator tank and we've got our assault intercessor there. So let's start with our assault intercessor. And he's just broken up into a few components. You know, the gun is going to come in 2 parts and the chain sword in 4 parts, and then here's all the body, and then here's the base. And so all I'm doing is just creating a shape, and then if you want to change how curved that is, you can just click and hold that little green thing. If you haven't used Keynote before, then it's really simple. And then you just go up to the style and then choose your color, pop that in. I put a border on it, so put a line, and then let's make sure that's just the standard line. Get the color gray 9, and there you go. So that's how you simply make a shape. And then it's a case of copy and paste, and then you can put it like send it to the back. So that could be like the backpack, for example, like that. And then you just bring in all the other parts. So we start with the head, then we put the body, then the backpack, and then bring all the different components of the weapon in place, and then pop it on the base. And then once you've done that, you just select all the different components, right click, group, and then you've got your little miniature then that you can move around as one piece. Now if I was doing this from scratch, I'd do it in a square. I'd change the size of my document to a square document by going to document, slide size, custom slide size, and then I would change it to a square document. And then I would also change the background. So I would go to format, color fill for the background, and I would put no fill. And then when I export that, that's going to come out as a PNG. And so you're going to get a nice clear background, and then you'll be able to move it around however you like. And that's the process I went through for all the different vehicles as well, just building up those shapes, looking at images online of the top-down pictures, and that's pretty much everything we need. And then you can take all these things and you can start working through different tactics. You could even animate this so it all moves. You can check like firing distances, what's going to happen if you get flanked, what can you do about that, and you know, different ways to set up in your deployment, all those kinds of things. So an awful lot you can do with this, and I just think it's really fun. It was fun making it all, but it's also fun just trying out different things. And so now I can go through all these different units, and then using the books I can work out the points, I can see exactly how they'll work together, think up different tactics I can use for them, and I think that's going to be great. So this is a totally different video to something I'd normally do, but I hope it helps you out to practice and learn the rules, try out those combinations of units, and also get prepared for that competitive play if that's something you're interested in. But I also think it would be good just to prepare to play in your local store if you've never done it before. That's something I'm interested in doing, and I think this is a great tool to build your confidence and really just practice a lot more games than you'd normally be able to do. Once I've really gone through the books and cards, I'll put another video up really soon just so you can see exactly what's included and decide whether or not you need all of these products to start your Space Marine army. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'd love to hear what you think about this as an idea. Could you imagine using this? Is this something you'd like to use to practice for your games? So let me know in the comment section below. It'd be awesome to hear from you. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'd like to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters who make these daily videos possible, and if you're interested in joining the community, it'd be awesome to see you there, and I'll put a link for that in the description down below.